Welcome to this amazing video. If you're new to Udemy, welcome. My name is Robert Farrell, humble Adobe Master Guru and instructor with 26 years of experience. I'm offering some of these free samples for those of you who have not really signed up for one of my courses, and if you haven't, hey, what are you waiting for? If you really want to learn the cool stuff and the more in-depth stuff, then definitely take advantage of my courses on Udemy. The advantage of using Udemy, by the way, is if you're watching this on Udemy, unlike watching it on YouTube. If you're watching it on YouTube, that's great too. Welcome to you as well. But if you're watching this free example on Udemy, part of what having Udemy is you can download the file to your computer, which you can't do that simply on YouTube. Plus, you can take notes up here to yourself. Plus, you can just click that link, whatever video you happen to be watching, and send me a message, a question. I'm here to help you every step of the way. So here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to share with you my techniques for editing CSS on a WordPress site directly from Dreamweaver. Now, for some of you that have to edit CSS in WordPress, it's a little vexing sometimes. I'm not talking about the built-in widgets, but if you have to physically go into the code to hand code it, sometimes you really can't see an immediate result. So Dreamweaver enables you to do that. Now, I'm going to share with you some really cool techniques here, but the most important technique is you technically don't even have to use Dreamweaver to upload and download this. I'm going to show you how to use Firefox to download the WordPress site. Now, I'm not talking about pirating. I'm not talking about stealing somebody's WordPress code, but this is just a good example of how I can affect and how I can select and how I can work directly with inside of Dreamweaver to get my different pages inside WordPress or download from Firefox. So let's get started. So if you're new to Dreamweaver, and I actually have a free exercise in doing this, you want to set up a site definition. I go into great detail in this section of Udemy. ThinkLearnEarn.com. It's udemy.com/ThinkLearnEarn. If you click, you can watch a more in-depth detail on setting up a site. So I'm just going to keep this brief and simple. So based on these choices, we're going to go ahead and make ourselves a new site. And I'm just going to call this WordPress -CSS test. Now, of course, I can put this anyplace on my computer. I would always suggest you put this on your desktop. So on my desktop, I have a folder called websites. Hey, call me stupid, makes sense to me. Inside this folder, we're basically going to create a new folder. Now, this is just where we're going to store our files. And again, this could be for testing purposes or just learning purposes, etc., etc. So again, we're going to call it the same thing, which is Word. And if I can learn how to spell WordPress, that would be a good thing. I guess I should have taken that free class on Udemy on typing. WordPress CSS. Yeah, we'll do that. So again, this is for testing purposes. So what's the name of this dialog box? It says choose root folder, and I'm going to choose that. And I'm going to hit save. Now, the advantage of what I just did is anytime you want to basically adjust information inside of, and I'm just clicking right here. Incidentally, I'm going to close this for a second. I'm working in Dreamweaver Classic mode. CS6, but CS6 Classic. Now, some of the things I'll share with you, you can do an earlier version of Dreamweaver, but it's better to have the most current version. And for those of you that say, well, it's expensive, well, you know, for 19 bucks a month, you can get the most current version from the Adobe Cloud series. So I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to basically, I want to be in Classic mode. And I'm going to go up here and bring up my Files palette. So the way the Files palette works is that becomes a shortcut. It's basically Files, Command F for Macintosh, Control F for Windows. Now, we're not going to do any FTPing in this particular video. I'm just going to share with you how simple it is to work directly with CSS from a WordPress file right inside of Dreamweaver. So here's what we're going to do. There's a great website out there called Media Queries. MediaQueries.es. In fact, it's very clever. I do have an entire course on media queries. If you sign up for that on Udemy, I go into great detail in media queries. Now, the advantage of taking my courses on Udemy, of course, in addition to having a great helper to help and assist you, me with 26 years of experience, all my courses are totally upgradable, which means you pay one fee and it's totally upgradable, meaning I continually add information, add new content, month after month. Now, in addition to that, I do have an all access pass too, so you can email me a question or send me a message right from Udemy on how you can access the all access pass, which is a one-time fee. So if you go to this site, Media Queries, in fact, it's very clever actually. It's MediaQueries.es. It's not a .com site. Now, these are just different examples of fluid grid design, responsive design. So as an example, here's a Time Magazine website. Now, this Time Magazine website was not built inside of WordPress, but it is a responsive design. So if I come back over here for a second and scroll up, this website was built in WordPress. So watch this. And again, I'm not talking about pirating or stealing somebody's design, but I'm just sharing with you, if you're in Firefox, this is one of the things I can do inside of Firefox. So I'm going to click right there, and right now I'm in the WordPress site that was built in the nextweb.com. So this is a responsive design site. I mean, it's going to work on an iPad because basically it deals with media queries. So the objective of this particular free video kind of teaser is to do a couple things. To share with you how I teach, for those of you who are not basically, got out the checkbook or got out your credit card and signed up for one of my in-depth classes, which I suggest you do. And that's okay if you want to watch a couple of things for free, but don't expect to learn. If you're serious about learning this professionally, then sign up for a real course, not a free course. Okay, so inside of Firefox, I'm simply going to get up File, Save. Now, we're going to navigate our way to where we're going to keep this file. So inside of our websites, we have a folder called WordPress. Now, what I'm going to do here is just put this in a folder called WP Samples. And inside, and if I could learn how to spell, see, I really should have taken that free class on udemy.com on A, how to spell, B, how to type. Okay, so we're going to keep this simple. We're just going to call this lowercase no space the next web. And I'm going to save that. Now, if you're new to this with Firefox, what Firefox is now going to do, this is my default, by the way. This is going to download the entire page that I'm on, including any kind of external files, JavaScript files. Again, I'm not talking about pirating. This is strictly for demonstration purposes to show you how easy it is to manipulate and change a WordPress site. So I'm going to hit save. Okay, now how did that help me? Well, back at the ranch, back inside of Dreamweaver, here's what we can do. I'm going to go to the File menu, and I'm going to go to File, Open File. Navigate my way to WP Samples inside of the Next Web. Now, what it does is whatever you call the folder that you downloaded it into, that's where it puts the assets. So I'm just going to double click and open up this page. Now, basically, this is a PHP page, but I can still have, so watch this, I did not FTP, I did not download, so here's all the goodies that made up this WordPress website, including the tons of JavaScript files and everything else it took to make this site. Pretty cool if you ask me. Right inside of Dreamweaver I can see this. Now, here's what I want to share with you. I'm not concerned about the JavaScript files. I only want to see the style.css file, which is this file right here. So one of the things I can do in Dreamweaver is if I click right here, I can just basically either declick, 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 or I can simply go to custom filter and I'm going to type in .css. Again, see, I should have taken that typing class. Now, if I want to get the exact file, if I have a bunch that I would type in styles.css, but that should suffice. And of course, that brings up my CSS styles right there. It basically is hiding everything else. It's a really nice thing, and that's part of the reason why you want to use Dreamweaver for doing stuff like this. Now, what I want to share with you is something really, really cool. So if I go to live view, now keep in mind, this particular page is on my local computer because in Firefox I simply went to File, Save As, and download it to my local computer. But watch this. I'm going to click right here under Live View. Okay. Now in Live View, if you take one step further here, I'm going to click right here, and I'm going to click. This is not set up by default. I'm going to click Links Continuously. Now you can do this if in fact you have other JavaScript running on your application that you don't want to initiate by doing command click. Windows, of course, it'd be control click. So what that enables me to do is now I can basically live click these different pages. Now keep in mind, I simply downloaded that one page. But if I wanted to go to this website, say classes, Academy classes, it's going to take me. So now Dreamweaver is behaving just like a web browser. Okay, so I'm just literally live going to that site. Now, I can type any site into here. I can type IBM.com. I can type Udemy.com, etc., etc. Now, of course, if those pages are password protected, this is not going to break through that password protection. But here's the cool thing. It's going to show you the styles that are available to me. So if I double click right now, this is going to say unopened to open because they haven't been found on the local disk. for this particular page, because this particular page is going. But see, this gives you a good instance on how that particular CSS rule was structured. So it's listed right here. Now, of course, I could always go into the CSS styles and view this here. Now, anytime you see a file where everything is kind of bunched together, that's called a minified version, also known as a minimum version. What that means is that for search engine, I'm sorry, not for search engine, for digital devices, you want to keep the file size as small as possible. Well, I don't know if you know anything about coding, but space basically increases this file size. So this is totally void of space. This is a minified file. Now, to edit this totally from scratch in your code view would be really, really tedious because you got stuff all over the place. But again, that's the minified version of that particular file. So that's why I would probably want to. So this is the code structure of the page itself. So here's how that particular page is actually put together. It has a viewport, so basically you can do meta tags and jQuery, and media query tags, etc., etc. So I'm going to go back to design view for a second. Now let's go back, and I can just basically navigate back right here to our previous page. Now again, this is the page we physically downloaded from Firefox. We didn't have to use Dreamweaver's FTP capabilities. We just literally saved the file. Now, obviously, I can't make changes and then upload back to this next web server. That'd be silly. First of all, that's illegal. Second of all, I don't have the FTP information for that site, nor do I want it unless it's my site. But this is just a good way to share with you. So now that these styles are local, if I double click this, I can get right into those styles. And I can see how those different styles are put together. Now here's another thing I want to share with you. Again, this is a WordPress site built in WordPress. So if I go to Live and pick Inspect, and change this to current, what that's going to do for me, wherever I put my cursor, that's going to currently tell me the name of that particular tag, which is really, really cool. So if I click right there, that's going to pick that particular tag. Really cool stuff. So if you wanted to change things like colors or things like that, you can do that right from here by just double clicking. So if I wanted to change that color, now what you have to pay attention to, by the way, is you have to know how this thinks. Basically, sometimes it's not going to pick it might pick that tag, but that might be the correct tag for that particular div or that particular wrapper, etc., etc. But this is a great way to get to know how to manipulate the CSS inside of Dreamweaver. This way, it can be done visually. So it's a really, really super cool technique. Again, all I did was pick a WordPress site. So if you have a WordPress site and you just kind of want to test out the template, but you don't want to have to install it into WordPress and you don't want to have to go through all that stuff, you can simply go to the site that uses that template. Or a lot of, like elegantthemes.com, a lot of these websites have like previews of what the theme looks like. So what I'm sharing with you, which is a great production technique, is you can actually just test it right in Firefox. You don't have to install it into WordPress or anything else. Just go ahead and save that file just like I did to your local computer, and then you can kind of test out all the little nuances with your CSS, and you can make changes to it. Now again, of course, if you want to FTP it back, then you would have to physically FTP to your server, and you would have to install that WordPress site on your computer that you have access to, or your server that you have access to. But I just wanted to give you a little for instance on how simple it is to basically manipulate and use my CSS. So whatever I select here, again, if I click this, I can go and change the margin or the color or the size right from here. But you have to be selected on current. Because sometimes if you select on all, you may not know that, like you may know what a div tag is, you might know what the body tag is, but perhaps you don't know how it's going to affect the rest of the site. So here's the menu inside the site div. So you'd have to basically get the site ID's div, and you have to know how that site was built. Rather than do that and torture yourself, if you go to current view, you could simply put your cursor wherever you want to put that tag and select the tag from right here. And then I can make changes to it, etc., etc., etc. So these are some really cool production techniques. Again, the advantage of what I'm sharing with you is you can visually change your CSS inside of WordPress without learning code, without having to go to the code. Now the problem with writing the code in WordPress is if you don't have a widget for that, is you have to write the code and you have to post it. I didn't like it, go back to the code, I didn't like it. So Dreamweaver gives you instant results on what you do. Now here's a final thing I want to share with you. This is a very important step. The default CSS style, and this is something, if you're watching this inside of Udemy, you definitely probably want to take a note on this, okay? So this basically shows you here, let's just go to that for a second. This shows you the theme setup for that particular theme. Now, of course, if you know some basic CSS rules, you can just change things right here. What I want to share with you, which is a very important step when modifying CSS with a WordPress site, is this. And again, if you're not sure about it, write it down. And if you're Udemy, you can write that down right up here on the top right. You can write notes to yourself. So here's how this works, and here's what I want to get at. If you go ahead and change the styles in your CSS style, which is totally acceptable, you could totally do that all day long. But here's the problem with that. If there's now an update to that new theme or that new framework, it's going to overwrite your styles. So here's what you can do to get the best of both worlds. What you can do is make yourself a brand new style sheet. Now, if I'm in Dreamweaver right now. Now, if you're new to Dreamweaver, I highly suggest that you take my in-depth and what's happening there, Flash Player. My apologies. Okay, so if you take my in-depth courses, you're going to get a lot more out of the course. And again, my courses are totally upgradable. So here's what I want to share with you. I'm going to create myself a new style sheet. Okay, so let's say as an example that I wanted to affect, I'm just going to arbitrarily pick something right here. So let's say I want to affect that headline when it's inside of a paragraph. So I'm going to select the tag, similar to all my other Dreamweaver courses. I'm going to select the tag and I'm going to make a rule. Now, this is going to override the rule that I currently have inside of that CSS style if I pick CSS style. But what I'm going to do here is, first of all, I'm going to go down to compound because I want to create a combination rule. Now, if this stuff is really confusing for you and overwhelming for you, we can just make this less specific. So I'm just going to say if I have a header class inside an anchor tag, inside the announcement div tag. Now, that might seem like backwards Chinese math to you at this point, but that's not the point. What I want to share with you is if you go ahead and make this change, it's going to write the rules to your style CSS. Not a good or a bad thing, but then when you update that theme or update that framework, it's going to override those styles. So here's a technique I want to share with you. We're going to go ahead and make ourselves a new style sheet, and we're going to hit OK. Then it's going to say, what do you want to call it? Where do you want to put it? Well, styles you would typically keep in your WordPress themes folder. The file is called style. But just to keep it simple, I'm going to create a new folder called CSS. Now, it doesn't matter what I do here because Dreamweaver is going to automatically link to this file. And we're going to call this custom. Now, if it helps your thinking, rather than generically call it custom, call it based on what the theme is. Again, that's just going to help you for future reference. And I'm going to hit save. Now, the advantage of what I just did, first of all, there's my CSS custom right there, and I'm just going to make a change here. I'm just going to make a background color change, maybe this blue color, and hit apply. All right, now here's how this works. If I go to my source of the page, and this is loaded into the page, make sure, and this is a very important step, if you're going to work with external CSS custom files, here's how CSS thinks. In fact, all code works the same way. Code is read top to bottom. The browser hits the top line and keeps going down and down and down. So Dreamweaver put this after my styles, but if you're not sure, make sure that CSS custom loads after your CSS styles. If it doesn't, then it's going to not override it. The objective here, I want the custom CSS to override my styles. Now, this is just not a WordPress thing. This works in regular Dreamweaver CSS with HTML5 or PHP files. So the way that it works is the last thing that was executed is the last thing that the browser reads. So now you can have the best of both worlds. So now when there's an update to that styles panel, excuse me, your custom CSS is simply going to override that, but it's not going to write code to your CSS styles, your styles palette. So again, I just want to share with you, any rule or any external file that loads after the other file is going to read that first. So as an example, here's just a list of my current styles. So as an example, say that I had an H1 here, but then I had an H1 inside of a div tag. Well, since this is loaded last, that's going to execute the priority. It's going to basically have priority over it basically becomes a parent-child relationship. Now again, I go more into detail on this. I'm just giving you a simple for instance, and more importantly, how to think about how the software thinks and much more importantly, how to let a program like Dreamweaver do all your heavy lifting when it comes to code. Because hey, do I know how to write code? Sure. Do I want to write code? No. So why write code or get to write code when Dreamweaver is a great tool that will do all the heavy lifting? And with the advent of CS4, CS5, CS5.5, and now CS6, Dreamweaver talks directly to your WordPress documents, as I just demonstrated here. So in my WordPress course, I actually show you how to FTP, download the physical files, etc., etc. We didn't do that in this particular free exercise. So thank you very much for being here, and I just want to share with you how simple it is to use software if you learn how the software thinks. I involve you in the thinking process, and I'm here. Now, don't take my word for this. Look at my courses, read my reviews. I'm probably have the most highly per course, by the way. Probably one of the highly rated courses in Udemy. Now, I'll be very frank with you. There are some instructors. I've only been with Udemy since the summer of last year, basically June, July. So there are courses on Udemy that have maybe 50, 60, or 5,000, 6,000 viewers. But if you look at some of the reviews, they're not as many per capita as mine. So my students really love what I do. And if you're not sure about something, hey, ask my students. They won't steer you wrong. They're here to help you as well. So I'm here to help you every step of the way. My name is Robert Farrell, Carpe Diem 2013, and do something nice for somebody, because I just did something nice for you. Have a good day. Enjoy your day.